Before heading to the video, if you haven't subscribed the channel, do subscribe it and don't forget to click the bell icon for the latest update notification. If you like the video, do like, comment and share. Stay tuned with learnbay.co. Happy learning!
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yeah,
All right, wonderful. Okay, so what we were covering on Tuesday?
and before that, feature reduction techniques.
Feature reduction techniques. And the last one was, which we were looking at, was PCA basically. So fundamentally, what is PCA? What is the basic idea behind PCA?
If there is there are multiple features, then we will uh, we will calculate the eigenvalues and we will take the maximum eigenvalues and project the points on that plane or line.
Very well, very well. That's the simplest explanation. That basically here we have represented them through principal components. Fundamentally, they are eigenvectors, not eigenvalues actually. Okay, eigenvectors. Eigenvectors, and the idea is the first eigenvector will have the highest spread of the data, means capturing the variance of data. Second eigenvector would have second highest power, or like second highest in capturing the variance of data, and third, fourth, so on. So when PCA is really useful, anyone? Or
When
what was the requirement when I told you like PCA is most preferred? In what use case like one goes for PCA?
computer vision, where we can't reduce the feature by other techniques, then we have
Yeah,
to.
because what happens is if you were to run uh, any kind of feature reduction techniques over there, what mostly happens is like most pixels give more or less the same value. Okay, most pixels. So it is very hard to do any kind of decent, or how do I say, let's call the code. So it's very hard to do any kind of feature reduction successfully. Maybe you can only delete 5% of points, but 5% of points is not that much, because in CV you might have seen the dimensionality also increases, and same in NLP as well. The dimensionality is really large, very fast, right? Even if I take 100 by 100 pixel in grayscale, like what is the dimensionality I'm dealing with?
10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 dimensions. That is too much. That is too much for a lot of algorithm. SVM and few other algorithms will actually behave really slow over there. So the idea is we don't even do this one feature by feature scenario. We think about component space now. Okay, we start thinking that there is your normal feature space, and then there is a component space, which maybe looks like slightly different. And this second picture basically here is component space. The idea is in this component space, maybe we are able to capture most of the data, maybe not all the data. So why don't I just go there, do the transformation, PCA transformation, which is just trying to find eigenvectors and kind of mapping or plotting all the points, not plotting, sorry, why I'm saying the word plotting. Basically assuming all the points are around those new axes and then doing your machine learning as it is. Okay, so the idea is rather running a SVM here, imagine, or a classification boundary here, why don't I do a SVM system here itself, if it is feasible for us? So that's the point basically, that maybe even with less components, and in CV and these domains, you will see actually you barely have to use like 30 to 40% of original component space, original feature space to actually get your work done. And one of the best examples that we were actually going to take, and I wanted to show you there was this data set. Although I have shown you all this, but what I wanted to show you was this picture actually. Okay, let's say if you wanted to do manually, or you wanted to do your feature reduction old way. or in the old style that we were looking, that you go column by column and basically you try to get either mutual score or entropy values, or you select k-best, anything, or you can go recursive feature elimination, whatnot. So let's say I right now, how many dimensions I have, guys, if I may ask? One second. In this data set, how many dimensions we usually have?
64 by 64.
So this one is 64 by 64, right? So no, sorry, 8 by 8. What I am doing? Okay, sorry, my bad. 8 by 8. So total is 64. Otherwise, 64 by 64 becomes even larger. Now this is manageable space. Okay, what if I asked you, can you just select 8 pixels, 8 important pixels, and do the classification? Now in its original form is tricky, right? Okay, so I have told you, you can take logistic or anything. You can think the whole equation as it's like a normal regression formula. So maybe let's start like this. So I'm writing P1, not X1, but try to imagine these are the same things. P2 till not theta 2 till theta 8, P8 plus some theta naught. This is your bias basically. Okay, so the idea is if I were to choose just 8 pixels, let's say I were to choose those sequentially. Okay, do you think how much are we getting back here? Look, observe very carefully. So these values are nothing. Okay, so C values are the exact pixel values. Okay, and based on those, and plus we have some so no, sorry, C values are your coefficients. My bad. Again, I'm making a mistake here. So C values are your coefficients. Okay, and based on your coefficient mathematics multiplied by the actual value of pixel. Okay, you are gonna get this back. Now tell me, just with this first row here, would you be able to make a differentiation for all 10 digits that they are different? Yeah, it's very hard. Even if you try, it doesn't really work very well. And you can see barely, maybe this 8 pixel is gonna do nothing for you. And again, if you try any other thing like entropy or mutual gain, mutual information, okay, anything, it doesn't really works very well because each pixel gets very near around values. Now, if you think about it, how much data compression we are doing here, guys? If we just try to get 8 pixels only, how much reduction we have done? How much is 1 by 8? I think it should be 87.5, right? Miss total is 12.5, sorry, my bad. So 87.5 data has been killed. The problem is if you kill this many pixels and that is in like a sequential manner or something, your whole classification goes haywire immediately. So your task is goes out of hand. So if you wanted to recover or you wanted to understand the actual picture just by first 8 pixels, you can very easily see that plan is not going to work. And you can add all of them. You can see in the lower picture where we are trying to add all of them, and one by one things will start to appear a bit. And you will basically see this same idea that if I were to construct this as a giant equation, and you can think the whole thing as equation now. Okay, you see the problem that basically I just can get this first row. Okay, and this is not good enough, of course. Okay, because we will not be able to do the classification properly. So the thing which we realize is, what if we choose them in terms of their principal components? So when you take a principal component, what is a principal component again? Just to be sure.
It is the eigenvector having the maximum.
Eigenvector along which, yeah, you have plotted the data points. Here, the idea is, let's say if you were to take and C1 and all of the examples that you are seeing, basically these values are basically the values of pixels or dimensions based on your eigenvectors. So first, let's take an average picture, mean picture. So you sum all the pictures and get an average. So most of the digits are gonna be somewhere centralized, right? So you can see the average pixels are more darker here and side pixels are not. Now look carefully, guys. This is this is basically PC1, okay, and then there will be PC2 so far till PC8. Okay, now look carefully as we start to add. So this is 0. You can almost make sense that this is 0. Now look, there is mu, mean picture. Start adding or subtracting whatever the signs are. Guys, what does it looks like? By how many pixels or how many pieces it almost starts to look 0?
8.
8, almost we can say that maybe 8 or even lesser. I can make an argument like almost by C5 or even C4. To me, it is almost started to look like a 0. Means after a while, how much is the improvement? Can you see here very carefully? That even if it is trying to improve, no doubt, but there is not really a lot of improvement after a while. Initially it is. Initially you can see there is a lot of difference. But after a while it starts to stabilize. Why? Because as you go along, next PCs can only explain very low amount of variance. So even if you keep adding all the results, after a while you see it kind of stabilizes. And even look carefully, even after adding till 8, we are able to get this picture. Now there might be a small difference between the original and the approximation picture. I agree with that. But don't you think just if I can get something done with a mean and 8 PCs, why would I go for any other feature reduction technique? Does this make sense? This is what PCA is. And on an average, in PCA, we try to get approximately 20 or 30%. A lot of people just will go for 10% barely of original features. Because again, calculating PCA is also has its own compute problem, but still it's not that much. And again, there is something called explained variance ratio. So when you have run PCA, now PCA is unsupervised, first of all. There is no requirement for Y. Remember this part. And basically you can get the components or as many access as you want. Explained variance, or you can get the ratio. And this is what we have done. We have gotten the ratio. Okay. And anyways, when you start to look at the first explained variance ratio is going to be the highest. Next, this is second highest, third highest, fourth highest. So let's say even if you take only till this, which is already, if you start looking, these are small numbers. And for you, I think if you remember, we have already drawn this, if you remember this. And I was talking that even to get 80 till 80% of variance, barely like we will require 12 dimensions. So if I were to just take top 12, which means till here only. Okay, so these are the variances. So if I just take top 12 or first 12 PCs, principal components or eigenvectors, I can explain close to 80%. Isn't that like really impressive?
So, sir, for each dimension, we will have a principal component, and then we can choose depending upon how best it's explaining.
No. No. You will not. This is the whole trick at the end of the day.
Because the
PC itself, try to okay, don't worry.
Right.
The PC itself, now this is the problem. We can't really draw these things properly. The PC itself is just a new dimension, or sorry, axis, and the old system. Okay. So when I talk about PC, basically PC1, and the equation actually I have written, but I didn't want to get on in all the mathematics immediately. If this is x1, this is x2, and this is x3. It is just a loading vector. It is called a loading vector. Phi. I'm trying to write phi because I don't want to get it confused with the theta part that you guys are using so much. Understand? Basically, PC1 is a component basically of the original accesses. Now, how much is which? That I can't tell you. That is unsupervised practically.
So, yeah, I got that. And if you go back to that matrix which you are showing, or the array which was there,
Which one?
go down further. No.
Down.
Where you were adding, yeah, this one. So
Mhm.
here, how many are these values? These are not.
64.
These are 64.
Maximum you can have how many PCs?
That's what I was saying. So if it is 8 by 8, 64, so 64 dimensions were there. And so against each dimension, we are getting a value, which is like, let's say 1.48, 1.3, 1.74.
So basically this means this is how much variance ratio the first PC can explain. Now first PC will definitely have the highest. Now again, because these are pixels, the variance ratio is even through PCs, it is slightly hard to, not hard, means you can see after a while the values will become really small.
Yeah, so these values will be 64 in number. That means the principal
maximum 64 in number, but you don't have to choose all 64 because then you have
that
done
I got. What I was trying to understand was that if I have got 64 dimensions, then I will have the system will calculate 64 principal components. Obviously, the first sum of them will anyway accumulate to nearly 1 or whatever it might be.
Yeah, the idea is the very first few of them, 10% or 20%, would reach as close to 1 anyways. So you don't really have to go for rest of them. That is the point.
Got it.
Okay. And if someone is looking basically what the original equation is. So this is basically your idea that based on your original accesses, okay, and your loading vector. So Z1, Z2, Z3, whatever it is, all of them are basically kind of projections. You can think them as a projection along the original space itself. Okay. So the only major thing you guys have to worry about, mostly what you have to worry about is n components. How many components you want to keep. Okay. Now it depends. There is sometimes not a very easy answer that how many we want. So sometimes we have to run this once and again run it with some algorithm to find our accuracy, or minimum run it once and check the explained variance ratio. Okay. Or you can also get the amount of variance. This is ratio. This is the exact amount of variance. Okay, and you can see it is equal to n components. If you want to know how many it will come, it will be equal to n components largest eigenvalue of covariance matrix of X. Okay, so basically remember this part. Basically what you have to do is, even if you just want to check how the variance is explained in that data, this kind of code can come in really handy over there. That basically you just get a cumulative sum of all the variance ratio. The total sum is of course 1. And you can get a plot, and just by looking at the plot, it's very easy to figure out that maybe how many dimensions I will require. Now, ideally, we don't go beyond 50% dimensions, okay? Because then you have not done much feature reduction, especially in terms of speed, because calculating PCA is also like a second order, or even it happens once. It is second order like complexity. So even if you're not able to reduce like 50% of your data, then there is no point using PCA, right? Because PCA will take some time. Now, there are two problems. PCA doesn't work very well, especially based on its covariance idea, with either not normalized values or unscaled values, and also it gets highly affected by outliers in data. So there are problems here. Means remember this, it doesn't always works very well. If you have a outlier, or if your values are not normalized or scaled properly, PCA is not going to work. And the third problem is PCA, and maybe then everyone might have thought that why don't we use PCA everywhere? Like if it is so great, why don't we use PCA everywhere? So what would be the answer over there?
Time complexity.
And time, even if lesser time complexity is because it has to be only done once mostly, then still why don't we use PCA everywhere? Or why is it the best method? Like why did we even bother with any of the other methods so far?
It is not required, might be because you can do it in simpler ways. Why do you?
No, but believe me, the way PCA is doing, nothing is really similar. Everything is like, okay, for each column, let's get a score and try to understand like which column is better, right? Here, we are just not dealing in that concept. We are going in another component space and looking where the data is maximized or variance is maximized Let's choose those PCs. So the idea is fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Now the
Sorry, yeah, please
go ahead, please.
No, nothing. Well, I was not going to add anything more than what I said. Yeah, fine. Please go ahead.
So no, that is the question, right? Then why doesn't it get like used everywhere? Means of course we do use it. I'm not saying that you can't use it, but again, why doesn't it get used everywhere? What you know? I hope you remember. What is the very first problem that PCA not first? What is the very first requirement for PCA? All data should be numerical. That is one of the first thing that you will run into problem. All data needs to be numerical. Even if you, let's say, have very less outlier, there's no guarantee all the columns are inherently numerical. And that stops us in using in so many questions because one or two columns are usually not numerical. You can convert them to numbers, but they are not primarily to be treated as something on a number line. And that is where the problem is. That is where PCA cannot just get used everywhere. If you see everything as numerical, like in pixel data, then PCA should be one of the first choices to go forward with. It will really help you out in solving the problem. Okay, so basically this is what, and you can see it doesn't falls under feature reduction techniques. It falls under decomposition. So the idea with decompositions is there are different kind of decomposition that we have. All of them have some kind of factorization or kind of component space over there where you can run these optimizations. Okay, so matrix decompositions methods are basically a bit different than your normal feature reduction techniques.
The way I read this is that
Go ahead.
the way I read this is that yeah, this is decomposition rather than reduction, because anyway any principal component will have a flavor of all the features.
Exactly.
Right?
This equation specifically is trying to determine, show you that part itself, that any principal component is still a part or basically have been derived from rest of the accesses. So we are not really abandoning one axis per se. We are just trying to find a very comfortable space where most of the data is segmented or most of the data can be explained. And again, this picture is like one of the best picture I could find on internet to explain the PC issue. That basically, even if you have this 3D space, if I were to just generate a plane with two axes, PC1 and PC2, I can still explain most of the data and maybe perform regression, classification, whatever I want. So why should I use the original three? But remember, still PC1 and PC2 are basically components of gene 1, gene 2, and gene 3. Okay. So I've already shared this notebook basically on Google Classroom, so you can check it out at any point of time.